is Dennis Feldman, and I've been working with BowHaus about 15 years. I started photographing her when I first started in photography. I knew that she'd probably be available to me a lot, and I wanted to make a series of portraits that would be one large portrait. And I have been photographing her for 59 years. That image was made really early in my photographic career. I was probably 20, 21. I got into photography at college the third year, and so I was young when I made it. She was having some trouble with her father, or her father was having trouble, and she was very upset about it. And I took that picture in her house. I've had a number of exhibits now, and I've been very fortunate to have very good museums exhibit my work. It's very exciting every time, and I almost always go and take a look at what it looks like hung. I've been very fortunate too, because they've hung it extremely well and lit it extremely carefully. I just had a couple of pictures up in a big exhibit at the Phoenix Art Museum, which were made at BowHaus. They were 40 by 40 inches. I didn't know this, but they call it anchoring the show. They anchored the show, which means something. I'm not exactly sure what it means. But when you come in the front, you see the first one, and when you finish that room, through the doorway you see the second one at 40 by 40, and it kind of draws you into the room, which is kind of nice. I photograph a lot of people that I've asked to photograph on the street, like on Hollywood Boulevard. I photograph them in a minute, in 30 seconds. I ask to take their picture, and I make the picture. And it seemed to me that I did not know very much about them. The pictures seem to have come out very well, but I don't know them. And I always thought, is there a difference between someone you know extremely well and someone that you can photograph over a long period of time, different than just photographing somebody that you've literally 30 seconds? You know, I found out there is. You can make a much longer project of more pictures. It can be much deeper. I published a book, a small book, called 48 Portraits of My Mother. One of the things I said in the introduction is most of these shots were taken in a 30th of a second or a 60th of a second. And in consequence, the 48 pictures make up less than 2 seconds of reflected life of her life. And it's supposed to tell you who she is over 40 years. And an interesting project in that how demanding it is in its editing as well as in its photography. Well, that's a very good question, because I can't, off the top of my head, give you the answer. I would say this: I knew I would have to be spending a lot of time with my family. We have events and stuff, and I decided to make use of them. Is one reason I decided to photograph my family. The first was that I knew they would be subjects for the rest of my life. My mother is the most photogenic in a lot of ways, and so she became the primary subject. She has a larger volume of photographs than anybody else. It does ask who that person is in a kind of depth that one photograph I don't think could ever answer. My relationship with my mother is pretty complex. I would like to thank my mother for letting me photograph her over almost 60 years. She's a very, very good model. I never thought I would last this long. I never thought I would last this long. But I also knew I would never stop, give up. So we'll find out at some point if a portrait this lengthy is really deeper than all those very well-received pictures I took of people in 30 seconds. And if you can say more about somebody with a group of pictures properly edited than you can about a very telling picture that you took at one age, one place, one light situation, one background, one mood, there's a real question.